6 of the multi-tool brands I'm about to name cheap out in the same 3 places, and all 3 are invisible while you're standing in the shop deciding. Close the pliers and hold the wire cutters up to a light. If you can see daylight where the 2 edges should meet, you're holding a tool that flattens wire rather than cutting it. Then find out whether that cutter can ever be replaced, and whether the warranty covers it when it goes. 5 brands clear all 3. And the one that wins this whole list clears them by refusing the feature everybody else advertises. Leatherman's own patent will tell you what you're holding. The jaws, it says, may be investment castings, cast metal poured into a mold, then finished. So the product lives or dies on that one part and on the sliver where the 2 cutting edges come together, and the implement count printed on the back of the box has almost nothing to do with it. We buy these the wrong way round, though, me included, for about a decade. You pick up the one from a company you've heard of, and you assume the boring engineering got done properly because the name is familiar. It doesn't work like that, and the 6 coming up are ranked by how badly each brand handles those 3 checks against how much trust it's asking you for while it does it. The one asking for the least goes first. Number 6 is Ozark Trail, and the whole tier it stands for. Everybody owns one of these, and it lives in a kitchen drawer next to the batteries. It came in a gift set, or a survival kit, or off the rack by the till at a truck stop, or it turned up in a box from Amazon under a name you would never say out loud. Ozark Trail sits at the honest end of that tier, because Walmart will actually tell you what's in one. The 14-in-1 sells for $11.94, and the 14 is the entire sales pitch. Pliers, a wire cutter, a knife, a saw, a file, 3 screwdrivers, a can opener, a bottle opener, an awl, a fish scaler, and a hook remover. Then look at what that same listing calls the cutter, a wire cutter, and that's the whole claim. Go up their own range to the $47 one, and the copy quietly changes to a hard wire cutter, listed as its own separate item. The brand is telling you which of its tools got a cutter worth the name, and almost nobody scrolls that far. Ask anyone who carries a tool for a living about this tier, and the answer comes back near enough word for word. A cheap multi-tool keeps most of the functions of an expensive one. The screwdrivers work, the blade cuts, and the wire cutters are useless. What you took home was a tool with everything on it except the one part you'd want in a hurry. You did get a fish scaler, though. It's a toolbox tool and a glove box tool, and I've got 2 of them doing exactly that job. I wouldn't carry one, and I wouldn't hand one to somebody who needed to cut something that mattered. At $12, mind you, nobody lied to you. The listing said wire cutter, and you got a wire cutter, for a given value of cutter. Every brand from here up is asking you to trust it for a lot more money than that. Number 5. Harbor Freight will replace a pair of pliers for the rest of your life. That's their whole reputation, that lifetime hand tool guarantee, and it's earned. Ratchets, sockets, wrenches, screwdrivers, pliers, hammers, breaker bars, covered forever. Knives and multi-tools are not on that list. Their multi-tool, the Gordon, sells for about $40 and gets the standard 90-day warranty instead. The company that will hand you a new pair of pliers in 20 years gives you 3 months on the tool with pliers on it. I bought one to live in a truck because for $40, why not? And the reason for that 90 days showed up the first time I tried to cut anything with it. An owner online described it better than I managed to at the time. It's more of a shearing action than a cut. It often leaves the wire uncut, and more than once the wire jammed between the jaws and he had to pry them open. The diamond file on it is genuinely good, coarser than the one Leatherman ships, and mine has seen more use than I expected. The scissors, when new, cut about as well as what's on a wave, so it's a fine parts bin. It's just that the warranty is telling you something, and what it's telling you is that Harbor Freight already knows which part of this tool doesn't hold up. Number 4. Who actually built your multi-tool? Winchester will sell you one for about $22 with a rifle logo on the handle, and go looking for it on Winchester's own gear site, and it isn't there at all. What you find instead is the part number on the retail listings, formatted the way Gerber numbers their products. Coast sells one around $45 on a Century of Oregon Heritage, and Heritage is a claim about the company, not a claim about the factory, and they publish nothing about the factory. Craftsman has a 14-in-1 promising a full lifetime warranty, and I could not find a published price for it anywhere. What none of those pages mention is the cutters, not one word on any of them. You get Heritage, an implement count, and a logo you associate with something else entirely, and no way to run a single one of my 3 checks before your money is gone. That's what puts this tier above the drawer tool rather than below it. The gas station tool at least fails where you can see it coming. Number 3, and I'm about to use Leatherman's own website against Leatherman. Their budget tier is the Wingman at $50 and the Sidekick at $70. Pull up either spec page and read the tool list. Spring action wire cutters, and that's the whole entry. No hard wire cutter, no replaceable insert. The bolster, the club store model, doesn't even have a page on their site anymore. Then look at the Rev, the cheapest plier tool Leatherman makes, at $45. Its page lists hard wire cutters as a separate implement. The $70 tool has the lesser cutter and the $45 one has the better cutter. That's not me ranking them, that's the company's own spec pages, $25 apart and backwards. Carriers worked this out a long time ago. On the bolster, the complaint is that it uses anvil-style cutters and the two edges never actually touch, and when somebody defends that as normal for anvil cutters, the answer from the trades is short and rude. On the Wingman, the phrase that keeps coming back is that the cutters smush the wire just enough for you to tear the rest off. I'll be straight about the counter-argument because it's a real one and plenty of people make it. As a $50 object, a Wingman is a lot of mechanism, 4 spring-loaded functions, a proper warranty, and it will do 90% of what you ask. That case holds right up until the day you need to cut something, and then it collapses, because a jaw that never closed properly at the factory is not a thing a 25-year warranty is going to fix. I'd skip both. Number 2 costs $155, which is not a beater price, and it's the Gerber center drive. Gerber calls what's on it rotatable carbide wire cutters. Carbide is hard. Hard sounds like the right answer, and I understand exactly why people buy this tool. The carbide cracks. That's not one guy having a bad day. It's the most consistent complaint about this tool anywhere carriers gather, and the reports agree on the detail. They shatter on anything thicker than light wire. One farmhand carried a center drive for a year, replaced the cutters outright, and mentioned in the same breath that the plier head had developed more play than he wanted. Then there's the word Gerber never uses on the center drive page, and the word is replaceable. Rotatable, yes. Gerber does sell a carbide cutter replacement set for $35, and the page for it doesn't name a single compatible model, and the 2 retailer compatibility lists that exist name 3 other Gerber tools and not this one. And go read Gerber's warranty, limited lifetime in North America, and then the exclusion, word for word. It does not cover any parts, accessories, or consumables, including spare blades and replaceable attachments. A carbide cutter is a replaceable attachment, so on a $155 tool, the most fragile component sits in the one paragraph the lifetime promise steps around. And Gerber wrote that paragraph knowing what breaks. Gerber earns a lot back elsewhere, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. That quarter-inch centered driver is the best driver in the category by a distance. Their service is fast and they don't argue, which is more than a lot of the industry manages. None of it reaches the cutters. Number 1. SOG. And they deserve the one genuine compliment on this list first, because SOG is the only brand here that did something original with the hinge. The jaws are geared so the squeeze you put in at the handle comes out multiplied at the tip, and it lets a small tool bite through wire that has no business going through a tool that size. Nobody else builds that. Then you go looking for anything else you're supposed to know before spending $85, and it evaporates. SOG does not publish a country of origin. Not on the product pages, not in the specs. Nowhere on their own site. Every origin figure floating around comes from a retailer spec field, and those fields don't even agree with each other. One tool says Taiwan, several say China. That's not a scandal on its own. Plenty of excellent gear comes out of both. What bothers me is that a company selling you a 20-year tool won't say which. The warranty is where I stopped taking the brand seriously. The American page promises a limited lifetime warranty and then excludes worn tool components by name. Their UK site is blunter still, stating that on multi-tools the warranty applies only to the handles and the plier head, not the individual tool components. The blade, the file, the saw, the driver, the scissors. Everything you actually paid for sitting outside the promise. A carrier whose reviews I trust publicly took back his own recommendation of one of their tools after the bit lock stopped holding a blade tight, and the blade eventually fell out. Meanwhile, the Power Pint and the Power Liter have quietly come off SOG's current multi-tool page altogether. So here's a brand with the best engineering in the category, and you cannot find out where it's made. You cannot find out what the warranty actually covers without reading 2 countries' websites, and the tools it does cover are the 2 you were least worried about. That's the one I'd walk away from fastest, and the tool itself has very little to do with it. Everything arranged around that tool is arranged so you can't check it before you pay. So that's the 6. The next 5 are ranked the other way. Cheapest first, climbing to the one I'd buy with my own money, and 2 of them cost less than tools I've just told you to avoid. Number 5. The clone shelf, and I know exactly what I'm recommending. Bibury and Daicamping, the wave and surge copies that sell somewhere between $35 and $50 depending on the week. Open the Bibury box and there's a spare set of wire cutters in it. Shims, 2 screws, and a wrench to change them with. That's a manufacturer looking at the part that wears out and handing you a second one for nothing. Leatherman sells you that insert for $10 and tells you anything deeper goes back to a factory technician. The Daicamping sells for around $35 and gives you a 1/4-inch bit driver with a ball detent, replaceable cutters, and spares in the box as well. Bits fall out of the Bibury though, because there's no detent holding them, and that gets irritating fast. These are copies of somebody else's design rather than original work, and if that bothers you, it should. And a lot of what's known about the Daicamping traces back to a small number of reviewers, so treat the details as directional. But put one of these on the shelf next to the Gordon at the same money. Only one of them ships you the wear part in advance, and it isn't the one with the 90-day warranty. New here? This is the whole channel, one category a week, taken apart down to the piece that actually decides it. Subscribe and you'll get the next one. Number 4. $45, the Leatherman Rev, and it's on this list for something I only half explained a minute ago. Those cutters are bypass cutters. The 2 edges pass each other like scissors instead of one edge mashing wire down against a flat anvil. And bypass is the geometry that severs rather than crushes. People who've beaten on both put the Revs well ahead of the bolsters, which is a strange sentence to write about 2 tools from the same company $15 apart. You also get the 25-year warranty and a tool built in Portland with global parts, for less than the wingman with the worst jaw. The tool set is thin, there's no bit driver worth discussing, and those cutters aren't replaceable, so this one has a finite cutting life and one day it'll be done. But nothing else in the mainstream lineup clears the first check this cleanly for this money. And if somebody asked me what to put in a glove box that they might one day actually need, this is the answer. Number 3. Gerber MP600, in the carbide version specifically, at about $125. This time the word is sitting right there on Gerber's own page. Replaceable tungsten carbide wire cutters. The cheaper $100 versions of the same tool say carbide cutters with no replaceable in front of it, and that missing word is worth the $25. This is also the tool the trades reach for, and it's got nothing to do with the cutters. The pliers slide straight out one-handed where a butterfly tool needs a flip and usually both hands, and that difference stops being trivial the moment you're up a ladder with one hand already holding something. Carriers who work fence line report cutting wire with these for years and never once mention the jaws, which on this list counts as high praise. Reviewers keep pointing out something about Gerber's dual force, usually under $80, that I'd love to see somebody put real numbers on. They say its plier head is built from forged plates riveted together rather than a casting. If that's accurate, it's the only tool in this whole category not running a cast jaw. The MP600's problems are real. Both blades arrive dull and the serrated one is reportedly a nightmare to bring back. The whole tool rattles in the hand. And Gerber's warranty exclusion applies here too, so the best part of this tool is still the uncovered part. Number 2 is the Leatherman Rebar at $100, and it's the tool I've spent the most years with. Replaceable hardwire cutters, stated on their own page. $10 for a fresh insert shipped straight to you, no sending the tool anywhere. 25-year warranty. Mine has been through a house renovation, 4 years of bike commuting, and one very stupid afternoon involving a stuck fence staple, and the only part I've ever replaced on it is the cutter, which is the moment to tell you the thing I've been dancing around every time I've said the word replaceable. To make room for a removable cutter insert, the manufacturer has to cut material out of the plier head, and it has to come out of the exact spot where that head takes the most stress. A design engineer laid this out on a Multitool forum better than any marketing page ever has. The snapped plier heads people post about break right at the cutter pocket, almost every time, and almost always because somebody twisted or pried instead of gripping. He then pointed out that the rebar's cutter geometry leaves more metal behind that pocket than the wave and the charge do, which is probably why you see fewer of them fail. So the feature I've spent this whole list telling you to look for is also a feature that takes metal out of the tool. I'd still pay for it, because a cutter that dulls in year 4 is a problem you can't design around, and a plier head you snap by prying is a mistake you can simply not make. But it's a trade, and anybody who sells it to you as a free upgrade is selling. Worth knowing as well that the 25-year warranty excludes rust, corrosion, and normal wear, which covers most of what actually happens to a tool in a pocket. Buy the Rebar anyway. Out of everything in Leatherman's current lineup, it's the one where the 3 checks and the price land in the same place. Which brings me to number 1, Victorinox, the Swiss tool and the Spirit line. $145 for the Spirit X, $155 for the full-size Swiss tool. There's no replaceable cutter on it. There's no insert to buy and no part number to order, which also means there's no pocket milled out of the plier head and no stress risers sitting in the worst possible place. When those cutters finally dull, that's the end of them, and I'm not going to talk around that. SOG builds the cleverer jaw. Victorinox builds the one that's still square in 20 years, and the ownership reports on these get genuinely absurd. 20 years on a belt, daily, no failures. One owner past the 20-year mark swears the plier head has never developed a hair more play than the week he bought it. Go to the trades and it gets better. 12 years in a blue-collar wire job. 5 and 6 days a week, tips still aligned. 10 years riding on a truck rig, where the same owner watched plenty of other tools die around it. 16 years in a Caribbean climate that ate a wave and a juice belonging to the same guy. And one that a forklift ran over, which still works. Mine is 8 years old. It's been in salt water twice, it lives in a jacket pocket, and it has never rusted, and I did not expect that from something that shiny. The warranty is the other half of the argument. Victorinox runs a lifetime program on their knives and tools, updated in February of 2024, with no worn components clause hiding underneath it the way there is at SOG. And the product page tells you the tool was made in Switzerland in plain text on the page, which is more than 3 brands on the bad half of this list manage. Now the parts that will be in the comments within the hour, so I'll say them first. Opening the tools by the nail nick is stiff enough that people complain about their fingernails, out loud, at length. Most models have no bit driver at all. The blade steel is soft and it dulls faster than what Leatherman puts on a wave, and it comes back fast on a stone, but it does dull. It's riveted shut, so you can't adjust the pivots yourself the way you can on a $40 Bibury, and I've never fully made peace with that. And one owner who pried hard with his managed to bend the cutters and loosen the pivot, then called it pocket jewelry rather than a work tool, which is fair. I'd still take it over everything else here, and a heating and cooling guy I watched put the reason better than I've managed to. He held the Spirit up, pointed at the jaws, and said the wire cutters aren't replaceable, but we've learned from Leatherman that's probably a good thing. Every spec that gets a multi-tool sold is a spec you can read off a box. Implement count, carbide, the word replaceable, a heritage story, a warranty with a big number on the front of it. Not one of them is what's still going to matter in 10 years. What matters then is whether 2 pieces of cast metal were finished carefully enough to actually meet, and whether the company that made them wrote a promise it intends to keep. The first one you can settle yourself, on a shelf, before you pay. The second one is on the warranty page, in the paragraph nobody reads. So before you buy anything, and before you go and defend whatever's already in your pocket down in the comments, take it out and close the pliers and hold them up to a light. Then tell me what brand you were holding and whether those edges met. That's the comment I'll be reading.